Okay, let's get right into it. This is not going to be a motivational speech. Think of this as a technical audit of your remaining hours. What we're doing today is dissecting the single most dangerous deception your mind plays on you, the illusion of time. So, there's the clinical diagnosis right there on the screen. You're suffering from a terminal cognitive hallucination. What does that mean? It means you treat your life like it's an infinite resource, like this huge reservoir of some days you can just dip into whenever you feel like it. You talk about the future, say 2026, like it's some distant magical place where all your discipline is just going to magically show up. Well, we're here to audit that very dangerous assumption. The whole idea that you're just going to fundamentally change on some random date in the future, it's a complete fallacy. Someday is just a word we use to hide from our dead potential. Because here's the truth. Time isn't something you have. It's a predatory force that is actively eating away at your biological hardware. Every single second you spend waiting for the right mood, the right moment, that's a second you've permanently cashed out from your legacy. You're not waiting for the right time. You're just watching your own power slowly wither away. So to really understand why your future self so often fails to live up to your current plans, we have to look under the hood. We've got to audit the neural architecture itself and see how your brain is literally engineered for this specific kind of biological deception. This right here, this is the core concept. It's called temporal discounting, and it's basically a specialized glitch in your prefrontal cortex. The part of your brain that's supposed to handle planning and big decisions. Your brain literally sees your future self not as you, but as a total stranger. And because of that, it discounts the value of anything that stranger might get in the future. And this slide, it just lays out that internal disconnect perfectly, doesn't it? On the left, you've got your present self. Everything's real, it's urgent, it's my problem. On the right, the future self. That's a stranger's problem. The effort can wait. It's all abstract and far away. You're basically offloading all the hard work of your own evolution onto a ghost that doesn't even exist yet. And this is where it gets really fascinating neurologically speaking. Your anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, is your brain's effort monitor. When you say, I'll deal with that in 2026, the ACC just powers down. It literally registers that task as someone else's problem. And that is why all that new year, new me energy is completely gone by February. You haven't changed the system at all. You've just flipped a page on the calendar. Okay, so this biological flaw, it leads to an even bigger problem. It's not just about kicking plans down the road. It's about how your daily habits right now are actively programming your future to fail. This is what we call the sunk cost of your attention. See, your mind runs on a system called predictive coding. And here's the thing you have to understand. Your brain doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about your grand speeches. It only cares about what you do. It builds its model of the world based on your repeated actions, and it physically optimizes the neural pathways for those habits, whether they're good for you or not. This chart just drives the point home perfectly. If your current model of reality is built on hours of mindless scrolling and endless indecision, well, your brain has become an expert at exactly that, waiting. Your biological hardware gets so deeply entrenched in the habit of doing nothing. So here's the crucial takeaway from all this. By the time that magical future date finally gets here, your brain is already perfectly optimized for the failures of the past year. The scary part isn't that you're running out of time. It's that you're running out of the capacity to care that you're running out of time. All right, now we have to go deeper than just biology. We need to look at the psychological anesthesia that actually makes all this stagnation feel comfortable. It's time to examine the architecture of regret. This shadow, it thrives on something we call the comfort of later. It's this fraudulent promise that there is a safe harbor in the future, and that promise numbs the sharp pain of doing nothing right now. It's that little whisper that tells you, don't worry, there's always tomorrow, which makes it so easy to tolerate the emptiness of today. You might be telling yourself that by waiting, you're just getting ready, accumulating strength. But this is a trap. It's called cognitive stagnation. You are not getting ready for anything. You are simply getting used to your own inaction. You're not accumulating power. You're just normalizing your own decay. And this is a question we all have to sit with for a second. In this modern world, it is so easy to confuse the two. You can spend years perfecting the blueprint for your future life, but never, ever actually pick up a hammer. And you risk becoming what you see on the screen, a curated tragedy, a beautifully polished monument to someday. So the big question is, How do you break this illusion? How do you finally collapse the timeline? Well, you have to perform what we call a sovereignty shift, and it requires a very specific clinical protocol. This is the Sentinel Protocol. It's a 3-step process, and it's designed to do one thing: shatter the illusion of infinite time, collapse the future into the here and now, and let you finally reclaim your own agency. Step 1 is the finality audit. Every single morning, you perform a mental audit of your remaining time, but you base it on statistical data, not on wishful thinking. Now, the point here isn't to create anxiety. The point is to manufacture extreme, undeniable clarity. And here's a surgical question you can use to do that. Ask yourself this: if my life were a 10-hour film, am I really waiting until the final 5 minutes to start the plot? The answer forces you to see the urgency. The goal is to stop saving the best parts of your story for some future scene and instead collapse the entire plot into the opening scene. Start the action now. The final 2 steps are all about execution. First, ruthless essentialism. I want you to forget about having 20 different priorities. Pick one, just one, and obsess over it with zero compromise. Second, the unbalanced availability filter. You have to start guarding your time with clinical coldness. Treat your hours like they are a finite, precious resource, because they are. Stop being so available to the mediocre. So here it is, the ultimate takeaway. The future you're waiting for is an illusion. The archive of your life, it's being written in this exact moment. The only time that has ever existed is right now. Your audit is complete, the real work begins.
All right, let's begin. We're drawing from the repository of human patterns, what we call the silent archive, to conduct a technical audit of your most dangerous deception, the illusion of time. And let's be really clear about this from the start. This isn't a motivational speech. This is a clinical breakdown of why you keep putting your own life on hold and exactly how to stop.
The diagnosis is pretty direct, isn't it? So what is this hallucination? It's the one where you treat your life like it's an infinite resource. You talk about someday or next year as if they're real places you can travel to, these sanctuaries where your discipline and your true self are just waiting for you. But in reality, they're statistical impossibilities. They're ghosts.
So let's put a name to this, right? What is this specific ailment? In the archive, we call it the comfort of later. Think of it as a really sophisticated psychological anesthesia. It's designed to numb the sharp, immediate pain of the present with this seductive but totally fraudulent promise of a future that's never going to arrive in the way you picture it.
You tell yourself that by waiting, you're just getting ready. You're accumulating readiness, preparing for that one big moment. But here's the critical distinction. You're not getting ready. You are simply getting used to your own decay. This process, this slow acceptance of doing nothing has a name: cognitive stagnation. And this right here, this is the core of the deception. On one side, you believe you're waiting for a fresh start. But what you're actually doing is deepening the grave. Why? Because a future date, say 2026, is nothing more than an empty container. And if you fill that container with the exact same habits you have today, all that indecision, all that passive consumption, well, it won't be a new year. It'll just be a deeper, more entrenched version of now.
And this is a special kind of pain for the high achiever. You get confused. You start to mistake optimizing your lifestyle, getting the right apps, perfecting your schedule, with actually actualizing your potential. You spend years refining the blueprint, but you never ever pick up the hammer. And the result, you become this curated tragedy, a polished, perfect monument to a someday that you never got around to building.
So we've got the diagnosis, but why is this illusion so damn powerful? I mean, why do we all fall for it? Well, the answer is pretty chilling. It's baked into our neural architecture. Your brain is literally wired for this kind of self-deception.
Yeah, your brain is a master of biological deception. When you think about your future self, your prefrontal cortex processes that person as a total stranger. It doesn't see you. And because of that, your anterior cingulate cortex, the part that manages effort, it just shuts down. The hard work you've planned for 2026, it becomes someone else's problem. You are biologically offloading the labor of your own evolution onto a ghost.
And it gets even deeper. See, your brain builds its model of reality based on what you do, not on what you plan to do. So every single hour you spend in passive consumption, just scrolling or stuck in indecision, you are reinforcing those neural pathways. This is the sunk cost of your attention.
Your own biology becomes optimized for waiting. Let's make this tangible. Let's put a number on it. 4 hours. The daily average of mindless scrolling isn't just wasted time. No, it's active biological training. You're spending 4 hours a day, every day, physically entrenching the habit of waiting. You're guaranteeing that a simple date on a calendar will be absolutely powerless to override your programming. Okay, that's the diagnosis. That's the grim mechanism. But the archive is not about admiring the problem, it's about clinical intervention. So, what's the prescription? It's a fundamental change in your entire operating system. It's called the sovereignty shift. This shift means you have to abandon the external time scorecard and adopt an internal one. The external mind is passive. It's a recipient. It waits for the calendar to give it permission to act. But the sovereign mind? It's an actor. It doesn't wait for a date. It initiates the collapse of the future right into the present moment.
And here's a crucial lesson you have to internalize from the archive. Taking responsibility for your own timeline, it's not a burden. It is the very act of seizing power. Every time you offload your growth onto some future version of yourself, you are actively, willingly, giving your own power away.
So how do we actually do this? How do we implement this sovereignty shift with clinical precision? We use a 3-part framework. It's designed specifically to collapse the future into the present. Welcome to the Sentinel Protocol.
Before we break down the steps, I want you to ask yourself this one surgical question and really think about it. If your entire life were a 10-hour film, are you spending the first 9 hours on exposition, just waiting around for some dramatic conclusion in the final 5 minutes that's never going to come? This question is designed for one thing, to create extreme clarity.
The protocol is made up of 3 operations: the finality audit, ruthless essentialism, and the availability filter. Let's break them down one by one.
First up, the finality audit. Every single morning, I want you to perform a mental audit of your remaining years. And you need to base it on cold, hard statistical data, not on hope. Now, this is not about inviting anxiety. It's about creating extreme clarity. It's about acknowledging that this very well could be your final chapter and using that stark reality to collapse the entire plot of your life into the opening scene, which is right now. Second, ruthless essentialism. Forget your long list of resolutions. It's useless. Here's a hard rule. If you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. The task is simple. Pick one thing, one project, one virtue, one fundamental change, and then you obsess over it with absolutely zero compromise. Why? Because focus is the only universal currency that never, ever devalues.
And finally, the availability filter. You absolutely must stop being so available to the mediocre demands on your attention. You have to guard your hours with a clinical coldness, like they're diamonds. Your time is your only non-renewable asset. You have to treat digital status as preferred indifference. It's nice to have, sure, but it does not define you.
So what's the final takeaway from this entire audit? It's this. True clarity arrives the very moment you finally understand that the future is just a cognitive hallucination. That sanctuary you're waiting for, it doesn't exist. The only archive that matters, the only one that's real, is the one you build right now.
You know, the external pyramid of status, it's a mirage. The only thing that's real, the only thing that actually creates resonance is the internal audit. The choice is made in this moment. That's all there is. The audit is complete. What you build now is your only archive. Stay silent, stay wise.